This Civic Media podcast is sponsored by UW Organ and Tissue Donation. Organ donations are desperately needed, and now is the right time to become an organ donor. Talk to your family. Get the dot. Save lives. Go to heroicdeed.com.
This is your WLAK Daily News Roundup for Lake Air, 107.5 FM and 1260 AM in Amory.
For WLAK News, I'm James Kelly. Law enforcement authorities are asking Superior residents to be on the lookout after a missing Apple Valley man's car was found in the area. According to the Apple Valley Police Department, 42-year-old Shufao Zhang was last seen at a Richfield Target on January 14th after leaving his job at a Domino's in the area. On Monday, authorities located his red Toyota Camry in Superior. Zhang is described as a 5'8", 215-pound Asian man with brown eyes and brown hair. They believe he was experiencing a mental health episode. Governor Tony Evers and the Wisconsin Department of Transportation have announced $150,000 in grant funding for road projects in Bayfield County. According to a press release, the funding will be used to support construction on Argon Bright Road and provide full access to the undeveloped Bayfield County Business Park. The new construction on Argon Bright Road will create a 2,100-foot section to connect State Farm Road to State Highway 137 with storm drainage and access points to the business park. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers and Attorney General Josh Cole have announced the state will join a coalition of other states challenging the attempt to end birthright citizenship. According to a press release, Governor Evers, Attorney General Cole, and the other state leaders joining the challenge say the executive order issued by President Donald Trump is unconstitutional and violates the 14th Amendment. Wisconsin joined 19 other states in filing a lawsuit to invalidate the executive order in the U.S. District Court for the District of Massachusetts. The annual point-in-time count is set to begin in the Chippewa Valley today. According to a press release from the Western Dairyland Economic Opportunity Council, the point-in-time count seeks to establish a statistically reliable accounting of the number of people experiencing homelessness in the region, with the data collected being included in the annual Homelessness Assessment Report. The last point-in-time count found a significant increase in the number of unhoused individuals in the Chippewa Valley, especially in Eau Claire County. The Wisconsin Department of Revenue is reporting an increase in the amount of taxes and fees collected this December compared to previous years. According to their report, the state collected nearly $2.1 billion in general-purpose taxes and fees this year, up from about $2 billion last December. The increase represents a nearly 2% bump over the previous December, and in total, the state collected over 5% more than it did the previous year, with $9.7 billion this year compared to $9.2 billion in 2023. Wisconsin Republican lawmakers are planning to introduce legislation to return the evaluation of student test scores to previous benchmarks. The Department of Public Instruction made the change last year, changing the scores needed to reach certain achievement levels with new names. Supporters of the legislation say returning to scores that align with national standards will make it easier to compare scores to previous years and to scores from other states. Superintendent Dr. Jill Underly says the standards were updated but not lowered. A Spooner man has been sentenced after his conviction for operating while intoxicated with a minor passenger in the vehicle. According to court documents, 37-year-old Anthony Kaprowski was arrested in November of 2023 after driving to the Washburn County Sheriff's Office jail to pick up another intoxicated individual who had been arrested earlier. When he arrived, law enforcement authorities noticed he was also intoxicated and had driven to the facility with a 6-year-old in the car. Kaprowski pleaded guilty in a plea deal. Several Bayfield residents have been displaced following a Monday fire that destroyed an apartment building and tattoo shop. According to fire officials, the blaze broke out on South Broad Street just after 3 p.m. on Monday. Crews spent hours fighting the fire before it was extinguished, but the building was deemed a total loss. 5 people lived in the apartments above the tattoo shop, and employees of the shop will be out of work for a time, but none were injured. A GoFundMe supporting the displaced family has already raised thousands of dollars. The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources and the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point have partnered for the LEAF program once again. The program seeks to teach students across the state about the important role forests play in sustainability, as well as about tree reproduction and seedling growth. Through the initiative, students will get hands-on experience in seed collection in the state's school forests. Those seeds will then be planted in the school forests over the coming years to ensure those forest spaces continue to grow. Wisconsin's minimum wage will remain at $7.25 per hour and $2.33 per hour for tipped workers as residents see neighboring states implement increased wage floors. With the start of the new year, neighboring Minnesota, Illinois, and Michigan have announced increases to their minimum wages, including tipped workers. In Wisconsin, however, the minimum wage has not increased since 2009. U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data also shows the 2009 minimum wage change would be equivalent to nearly $11 today if it kept up with inflation. For WLAK News, I'm James Kelly.
Marquette defeats Seton Hall. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Marquette Golden Eagles with a win on the road over Seton Hall. The final 76-59. A big night for Cam Jones, who led with 19 points after a poor showing over the weekend in their loss against Xavier. Head coach Shaka Smart.
If you think about it, his role has changed so much in just, the last several months. But I've got to make sure I help him understand that heavy is the head that wears the crown, and there's no two people that applies to in this program more than him and me.
Marquette hosts Villanova on Friday. The Badgers with a loss at UCLA, 85-83. The loss snapping a 7-game winning streak for the Badgers. They'll host Nebraska Sunday at noon at the Kohl Center. And in baseball, former Brewer and Yankee pitcher C.C. Sabathia voted into the Hall of Fame. The 6'6", 300-pound lefty came to Milwaukee in 2008 in that trade with Cleveland and led the Brewers to the postseason for the first time in 26 years. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Cameron Diaz would love to be in the sequel of The Mask, but there is a condition. The Something About Mary actress who starred in the first Mask as Tina Carlisle in 1994 said she would absolutely love to do another installment, but only if Jim Carrey is involved. In the film, Carrey played a banker who develops magical powers when he puts on a mask that makes him an ornery cuss. Carrey says he is open to another chapter of the franchise if the circumstances are right. Translation, show him the do-re-mi. If you're looking for a trip down memory lane, you might want to revisit David Lynch's foray into network television, 1992's Twin Peaks. Inspired by David Lynch's passing last week, I got the urge to check it out, and it does not disappoint. It's beautifully shot, as is all of Lynch's work, has great music, and it's got incredible acting by a phenomenal cast. It might seem a bit dated, but the story holds up. No spoilers, as casual fans might have forgotten who killed Laura Palmer. Beatles and or John Lennon fans will be interested to know that a new documentary about John and Yoko is coming this spring. Magnolia Pictures has announced that 1-to-1, John and Yoko will get an IMAX release April 11th. The film covers an 18-month period of John and Yoko's time in Greenwich Village in the early 1970s and features restored, never-before-seen footage. 1-to-1 will drop on Max for us streamers in late May of this year. Imagine not getting a role in a movie that is not live action and has no real humans because the producers tell you look like a Smurf. That is what happened to actor Josh Gad. Gad was up for a role in Avatar in 2009, but was told director James Cameron didn't think he had the right body type. Apparently, Gad has such a strange body they couldn't even change it with CGI like they did every other actor. For more insights, check out Gad's new book, In Gad We Trust. Award shows seem to always have issues finding hosts. Not so for the Grammys, who welcomed Trevor Noah back to MC the festivities this year, which will be his 5th consecutive. Variety reports that the Emmy-winning comedian will also be a producer on this year's show. The 67th Grammy Awards ceremony will take place February 2 at the Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. Speaking of hosts, Conan O'Brien is set to host the Oscars, but these days, announcing hosts of the nominating ceremony has even become a big deal. Academy Award nominations will be announced Thursday, January 23. This year, hosting the announcements will be comedians Bowen Yang and Rachel Sennett. If you want to watch the event live, you'll have to set your alarm, as the announcements take place at 7:30 a.m. The actual Oscar ceremonies are March 2nd. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
It is going to be mostly cloudy, but warmer today. Our high in the mid-20s this afternoon, with the wind out of the south becoming west at around 5 to 15. Tonight, we're going to drop back down to around 0 for an overnight low. Tomorrow, sunshine in the low teens by Friday. Mostly cloudy with a high near 20. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Right now, it's 15.
That's your WLAK Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at lakeair.radio. The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.